Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome to episode 23 of the Malkan show. 2, 3, that makes 5, and that's my favorite number. This is going to be my favorite show, my favorite episode of the show, and that's why I have chosen my favorite topic for the show. So, welcome, and before we begin, let's see who's joining us from where. Girish, as usual, is the first one to join. Thank you, Girish. Good afternoon. It doesn't. I don't believe something like this idea. This whole idea. I was grappling with this whole thing of beginning a show, a talk show. Sharing something that I was comfortable with, and I always wanted to share my thoughts on a few things. After Vishal began his show last year, so after almost he completed 1 year, that's when I finally began with the show, and there was a lot of discomfort earlier because it's my first time that I was doing something online. Thanks to you guys for supporting so much that I've come so far on episode number 23. I'm so glad to do that, and thank you very much for all the support. And as usual, please keep giving me your feedback. I receive a lot of messages on personal as well. How the concept that we discussed in the last episode, how is it going with each of you all? About implementing the practices, about loving to listen on further topics. Someone said you should talk more on this, or it's good if you talk on this. Or a couple of times I also got a feedback. It's okay, you can leave this topic. So that's good to receive feedback so that we get to know on how to give you what you would want to listen, right? So thank you. We have Hardeep Singh from Rajkot. Hello. Hi Radhika, good to see you here. We have Suresh, we have Falak. Hi Falak, how have you been? So this today, one important thing that I received last from the last episode is we spoke about time management, if you remember, about those little practices on time. And I had one of the people, who was listening to the show share that he shared exact number of hours that he could generate from himself, for himself, sorry, after following the practices, those three simple practices that we discussed on time management last week, which was so good. When you apply the practical steps and the results that you get, that makes it more encouraging for me to bring out, to share more of these things. So thank you for sharing. And for those of you who are watching and not taking the steps, one advice: do any of it. Even if there are 3 steps or 2 steps or just 1 step, try to apply whatever you can. You never know, because it is these simple things, but done consistently, that create the compound effect, right? So today, a very important topic on high performance, but a very ignored one. And this topic is more connected to religion or spirituality. But today, in today's show, I want to talk about a practice which is though extremely simple, but is very, very powerful, especially for high performers. And that topic, guys, is the power of being in silence. How wonderful it is just to experience silence, even for a few minutes every day. So you see, when you're reading on all these people who have done there, when you're observing their lifestyle of how they are behaving, what are they doing, what are they being. When you see the tripod, I always talk about this tripod of being, doing, and having, which the root of the entire thing is being. So when you are at the base of the tripod, when you're talking about being something, this is what they do. They try to be their magnificent self, which emanates from getting more connected to their inner selves, and that happens only when you have a lot of powerful practices, one of which I've seen is silence. What happens in silence? When you say silence, the first thing that comes is silence is the opposite of communication. That was what even I thought it to be. So when you talk about communication, and when you feel that silence is the opposite of communication, let's understand what is actual communication, and where does the role of silence fit into the whole grid of communication. So as my guru says, Sri Ravi Shankar, the way he says it bring out so beautifully. What he says is there are various modes in which we communicate with each other. When you're talking to someone, when you're using your words, you're connecting with someone through your intellect, which means there's more head-to-head communication happening, which is true, right? You're just talking, you're connecting to their head, which is wonderful, but that is one kind of communication called head-to-head communication. The second type of communication is heart-to-heart communication, where it's more of feeling-based communication. Suppose you're with the nature and you're really happy, that makes you sing. So your singing is your communication, your way of communicating, right? That's what it is. The third way of communication finally happens on the soul level, which happens only in silence. Which means, imagine the scenario where you're absolutely comfortable with someone and in whose or her company you do not mind being in silence. You know that with that person, silence is not awkward. Silence is not weird, right? As most of us feel that if I'm silent, it will sound weird. And that's the reason we try to fill up that space with words. All the time, what we're trying to do is fill up that space with words. And that is where the whole game gets down. Because when you're just trying to fill up that space with words, all you're trying to do is essentially fill up those words, not valuing their importance. So you may tend to say something foolish or something that's not required on the spur of the moment. That drags the whole conversation down. So, but to remain in silence, to accept silence in the moment is an art, and it's comfortable only with some person that you know you're comfortable with. Or even when so many of times when you speak to people, they say that they do not like to be alone. Why? Because there's a lot of silence. But you know what, guys? When you're alone, you're not silent. There's constant blabbering going on in your mind when you're alone. Your mind is constantly churning out thoughts. And when you talk about thoughts that your mind is churning out into, they are not something that is happening in the moment. Your thoughts are either of some issue that's happened in the past or some kind of worries that you may anticipate in the future. So in essence, everything is a memory. Up memory ko hi leke you're churning it again and again, and that's the reason your mind is full of constant chitter chatter happening all the time. How many of you can relate to this when I'm saying that your mind is constantly thinking? You're constantly some or the other thought is always in your mind. Of course, it's not possible that you keep your mind in a vacuum where you're not thinking anything. But most of the times, most often than not, what we're thinking is about the past or anticipating what's going to happen in the future. Can you relate to this? How many of you have this thing when I say this, that you are mostly thinking something all the time? Would like to share? How many of you feel that? And it's okay to feel that, because as humans we are, it's completely natural, because since we live across three timelines, the past, the present, and the future, but our mind is essentially always living in these two timelines, the past or the future. Yes, so Girish says yes, you can relate to it. That's absolutely fine. Falak says yes, ma'am. Continuous thoughts goes on when you're alone. Yes, it's the biggest chatterbox. Isn't that natural behavior, Utsaha asks? Yes, that's very much natural behavior. But the thing is, there are a few moments when you would want to be by yourself. You would want to experience the power of silence, and that is when we do not want that. That's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's show. Sometimes same thoughts come even when you try to stop. Yes, maybe they're coming more because you're trying to stop them. Archana agrees to yes. And Bharti too. Thank you for sharing, guys. So when your mind is full of these thoughts, there's so much of energy, because your thoughts take energy. Everything takes away energy, right? Whatever energy that you have within you, when they're taken away by these thoughts, what is left to think constructively? What is left to really connect to yourself, right? And when you study, I don't know how many of you have studied the Bhagavad Gita, or any religious scripture, or any lesson in spirituality, everything guides us to one single path, just one single path. And what's that? When you say that इसने भी यही message दिया है, उसने भी यही message दिया, that single message, that one big message that you get from every source is to go inward. कभी सुना है बोलते your gurus or your this, कि you have any answer, any question that you have, you're not able to find any solution, you're embroiled in a puzzle or something, just go inside and you'll have all the answers there. So what is that insight that they're talking about? How do you get to that insight? Silence is one thing that really helps you dig into that level deeper. There are various stages there. Over the years, it's always been my endeavor to, of all the work that you try to do on your inner self, this has been the biggest challenge to me, and I agree and I accept that. The biggest challenge is, just to shut down everything, be silent, and go inward. That's the biggest challenge I think any person who is trying to do inner work would have with themselves. So, and one more thing, when you meet people, when you see random conversations happening, 70 to 80% of the time you see people talking about themselves. When you're talking about themselves, you not only run the risk of being termed as a narcissist who's more interested only in himself or herself, but you also lose the chance and the opportunity to give yourself the zone of silence that you wanted. And especially with people, the magic of silence is that when you're silent with someone, what happens is you're more taking the you're donning the hat of an observer. You're observing them, and that's more powerful than even talking to them, because when you're observing them, that gives you the power to understand them. How are they thinking? What are they talking? What is their behavior like? That gives you more power to understand. You meet someone who's constantly on and on and on. Where do you have the time or the opportunity to even study them, to know who they are, how are they behaving, what are you engaging about them, right? So what I'm trying to bring the point home is that, be it alone or be it with someone, this is one practice which each of us should start implementing. And when it comes to high performance, this practice is unbeatable. It's neither connected to spirituality nor connected to religion, but even as a high performer, this is an absolutely simple and a fantastic habit to do. So once you start doing that, you'll observe some of the other changes happening daily in your daily lives. And trust me when I say this, any simple act such as even putting on a meditative music and singing, put it on a meditative music, or a simple song, a religious song, something, and just sitting that in absolute silence and listening to it could be a powerful practice to begin to inculcate the silence. What happens is, once you are deep into that song that's being sung, or the music, the flute, or a guitar being played, you're completely into that stops your mind from all the chitter chatter that goes on. So that is one such thing. So one practice could be that daily take time out, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it could that you can afford from your busy schedule. Just switch off everything, sit and put in a sense, or just sit on like this, darken wherever you are, and just sit and listen to it and experience what is it that's going on in your mind at that point of time. There may be thoughts flowing, there may be a lot of worries that you come to know, there may be a lot of things from outside where they're thinking that, oh my god, these 30 minutes, what's going to happen to this, what's going to happen to that, whatever it is. You can be with that thing and try to just experience the magic of silence that's going on. Especially for traders, when I ask them to a compulsory exercise, in this coaching program, then you have to meditate at least for 30 minutes every day. Many of them are not able to see the direct connection that meditation has to trading, but the impact is profound. When you meditate every day, that's the time that you're quietening your mind. You're trying to get into that zone, that peaceful zone, and that is very powerful. That gives you the power that lasts for your whole 6.5 hours of trading, guys. And especially for all of us, this is extremely powerful. That is one such thing. Of all the trader friends that I have right now, how many of you have been doing this? How many of you have been meditating? And do you think that doing this simple process of meditation has been helping you guys? Yeah, you'd like to share your experience, anyone who's doing this? So someone's sharing, perfect, I do the same thing, listening to spiritual songs. That's very, very nice. Yeah, so that's a dilemma what Girish shares. Sometimes we are doing something and some thought process goes on simultaneously. Yes, because you're doing the physical activity that you're doing is in another realm, but your thought process is stuck here, which is constantly going on and on. So you feel that you're accomplishing a lot by doing that physical activity, but in your mental state, you're still the same, embroiled in that thought itself. I have a question here. So when thinking about thoughts, Archana asks, should we think or not? And what if some negative thoughts come in mind? You have to let everything come into your mind. You don't have to stop anything coming into your mind. The idea is to try to take the mind into a blank zone for some time in a day. And that is what creates the power to deal with all the negativities or anything that comes to your mind, any fear, any worry later on. The idea is to use the power of silence to make our minds more stronger. That's the whole idea. Can you share a few ideas of meditation? Yes, sure, I will. Doing Sudarshan Kriya once a week for 3 hours. My God, that's the most powerful practice. It's a very, very powerful practice for those of you have known Sudarshan Kriya. It's a breathing technique for those who don't know. And of course, my guru Shri Shri Ravi Shankar is the one who is, has been teaching this to millions and millions of people. What happens is the technique asks, it gets you connected to your breath. And trust me when I say this, once you are connected with your breath is the best thing that can get you into the present moment, right? So throughout this entire process, when you're breathing, so Darshan Kriya has 3 stages of breathing. Throughout these 3 stages, all that you're focusing on is on your breath. There's no other time to think anything. You're just focused on your breath. Try this if you want to. At any point of time, you take all your focus and attention on your breath, your mind cannot think anything else. It's that powerful. So there's no other way to get into the present and to silence your mind and your mouth just other than just by just focusing on your breath. At any point of time, you want to shut everything around, come to the present moment, just focus on your breath and you're back. So that's what it is. So kudos to those who are doing the silence thing every day. The Sudarshan Kriya every day. Raj shares practicing silence time every day. So this is absolutely what I was getting to, that this is one ritual which is very, very powerful. And as high performers, we strongly ask people to do this. I do this very often is I allocate days which are called complete silence days, which means as a Hindi में बोलते हैं ना मौन. Some people have this मौन व्रत जैसा, which this whole 24-hour period you have a मौन. Well, being a mother to 2 young kids, it's not been possible for me for many years to have a complete 24-hour period of mौन. But what I try to do to my best is to have at least bouts of 4 to 5 hours on a few days where you're not talking anything. You are just by yourself. The best thing that I get out of this is, one thing is it saves so much of energy. When you talk, you're expending energy, right? Itna energy conservation hota hai usse. And secondly, when you're silent, you're observing. And trust me when I say this, you tend to observe the smallest of things. You're traveling in an auto when you're silent, you're observing that person, you're observing your colleagues at work, you're just observing your breath, you're observing the way you're doing small little things. So your observation tends to get sharper when you're restricted from using your words. So you can have this, both me and Vishal follow this very, very regularly. It gives you so much of better business ideas too. When you're silent, when you're into this zone, especially when you have this silent zone into the nature, that's a killer combination. So try to do that kind of practice. You can have it as a fixed practice every second Saturday, every fourth Saturday, or whatever it is. Timeline allows you to. If you're a working person, you can have it on weekends. For me, my work days are better to do this because I'm at work and away from kids. That at work, it's better for me to follow a few times in a month. So that's what it is. Choose your silent zone. It should be your comfortable zone where you're least worried about the thoughts outside and you're observing complete silence. The second thing is the meditation, where someone asked, a few ideas on meditation. There are a whole lot of different ideas that people have on how to meditate and the right time to meditate, the right music to meditate is. All I want to say for someone who is trying to beginning this practice is one thing. There are no fixed rules to meditation. Do it any time of the day, but do it whenever you are comfortable, when you're free from all the worries from the outside world, when nobody's going to knock at your door, when you're not going to receive these urgent phone calls or whatever it is. Just dump your phone outside, sit in a room, and put on a music to begin with. Why do I say music? Is that because when you're left alone, again, your mind will turn to wander. So try to put on some music that has a calming effect. It's completely fine to doze off when you're trying to meditate. It's completely fine to get into your own zone. Meditation is not, you're not trying to focus something. A lot of time people ask me this question, where should I look at? What should I focus on when I meditate? It's not about focusing on something. It's about just relaxing. I just tell them, as if you're in a spa where your body is getting massaged. That's your body thing that's happening. But here, your soul is getting massaged. Just let it be. Just relax. That's all that is there to meditation. So these are the two simple things, guys. Try to do it. Complete silence days. Even if you don't have days, get into hours. If you don't have hours, get into minutes. But begin somewhere. All I want you to do is experience the power of silence. And meditation is one such beautiful technique. Experience the power of meditation. You can begin with as small as 10 minutes a day, and then maybe take it higher and higher. A lot of videos are available. A lot of tracks are available on YouTube free of cost for you to experience meditation. Pick up any that you like, but try to dig into deeper. Right? Any questions that you have on meditation or whatever it is? Yeah, Harisha shares here that I'm practicing Sudarshan Kriya since 12 years and the ashram is just 11 kilometers away from my home. Wow, Harisha, I'm so excited. This is so. It has been one of my goals to come to the ashram for the big course that I wanted to do, which is there. I don't know, maybe this year or maybe next. I've never been to the ashram in spite of following Sri Guruji since a very, very long time. Thank you so much for sharing. So Puneet shares, Parush is for 8 days, so 8 into 24, 192 hours. And that is for his wife who does for 2 hours every day. Wow, which is so nice. Yes, so that's what I shared. If you take a religious practice or a spiritual practice, it all goes up to this thing. Your route could be anything, but your destination is just one. Great. Thank you. Shishadi shares, I am doing it daily. Very nice. For all those who are doing the practice of meditation daily. Superb. Want to try doing the same and enter the 5 a.m. club? Wow. I hope, Utsa, you've read the book, The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. That's very, very powerful. Good. All the best to you. All the very best. I'm excited for you. Yes, Pandya Rajan shares, I like to meditate, but not able to sit for a long time. My mind is trying to get up. It's okay. Begin by 10 minutes, Pandya Rajan. That's completely fine. We're not trying to set record anything here. Just see if you can do it for 10 minutes. If that's working out good for you, continue to do it for 10 minutes until the time that you feel the need that you want to be sitting a little longer, that you want to be doing a few minutes more even after the tape has stopped. That's the time that you should try to increase it. It all should come from within. And I'm sure it will. Once you try to do it successfully, 10 minutes will take it to 15 and then 20, and then you can go on and on. Right? Thank you. And yes, Vinay Kumar shares that I religiously listen to music every day. Yes, that's soulful. When you listen to music, why is music so soothing on your heart? Because that is where it transcends the the mind, and it connects to your soul directly. That's why when you're down, when you're tired, listening to music really peps you up, right? So that's fine. Let's do it. I mean, that's super practice. Good, guys. So keep sharing, and yeah. So keep sharing and keep giving your feedback on what you've liked and what practices you've been following. This video will be there on YouTube as well. Listen to it, and you may leave your comments below if you wish to, or message me personally, as I do receive a lot of times. And for those who are into this, into the trading zone, I know it's going on, but just one more reminder: we're running the free options series, where there's a whole lot of learning happening on options. So if you're really keen, go to this link called MV Option Expiry. We have free webinars scheduled every 3 days. The one happened the day before, and the other one is scheduled for tomorrow. So don't miss out on the free learnings there. And thank you for listening. I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.